The debut of the Big Red Machine Kane, portrayed by Glenn Jacobs, was one that nobody saw coming in the World Wrestling Federation. It started in April of 1997, heading into In Your House 14 Revenge of the Taker. Revenge of the Taker was headlined by The Undertaker taking on Mankind, who had previously taken his manager in Paul Bearer and aligned with him himself. At In Your House 14, The Undertaker launched a fireball into the face of his former manager in Paul Bearer, seeking retribution and revenge after Mankind did the same to him a few short months earlier. Following Undertaker's victory at Revenge of the Taker, Paul Bearer tried his damnedest to realign with The Undertaker again. He wanted to be back at the Phenom's side, but The Undertaker wasn't falling for it. That wasn't until Bear issued Taker an ultimatum, saying that he would reveal The Undertaker's deepest, darkest secrets to the audience of the World Wrestling Federation if he decided to not realign with his former manager. The Undertaker didn't want this secret getting out, so he did accept Paul Bear's offer for a few short months, until eventually Undertaker just didn't want Paul Bear around anymore and he wanted to be on his own. But this would cause Paul Bear to reveal that Undertaker had a long-lost brother. And not only that, but that this long-lost brother was headed to the World Wrestling Federation to challenge The Undertaker to see who was the most dominant member of the family. This long-lost brother's name was Kane, a man who was known as a pyromaniac, and he would start fires all around the funeral home where the family was raised, where Undertaker and his long-lost brother were raised, I should say. The road to the debut of the Big Red Machine would lead us to October 5th, 1997 at In Your House Bad Blood, where the main event would showcase a first-time ever match, the first iteration of a match that would become historic, known as a Hell in a Cell. However, this main event was unique because it wasn't for the World Wrestling Federation Championship. However, it was for the #1 contender to Bret Hart's World Wrestling Federation Championship at Survivor Series later on in the year. And this match was between the Phenom and The Undertaker and the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels. This was one of the first World Wrestling Federation matches given 5 stars by Dave Meltzer on the Wrestling Observer newsletter. But aside from having a great Hell in a Cell match and a great first-time Hell in a Cell match, this match was known for much more, as it would showcase the debut of the diabolical brother of The Undertaker. Kane would make his way out to the ring in the middle of the Hell in a Cell match alongside Paul Bear, with red light dawning around the entire arena. Kane would walk down to the ring slowly, but eventually would rip the door off the Hell in a Cell structure, making his way into the middle of the ring. Following a brief stare down brother to brother between Kane and The Undertaker, Kane would turn on his brother and hit him with a tombstone piledriver, allowing for Shawn Michaels to crawl into the cover and become the new #1 contender for Bret Hart's World Wrestling Federation Championship. But aside from Undertaker losing the match, there was much more on his plate, as now he would have to destroy his own flesh and blood. We would then move towards Kane's actual in-ring debut in the WWF, taking place at Survivor Series 1997, coincidentally the same night as one of the biggest professional wrestling scandals in the Montreal Screwjob between Shawn Michaels and Bret the Hitman Hart. He would take on a huge rival of his brother in 1996 in the deranged Mankind, who was originally managed by Paul Bearer himself. Early iterations of Kane's in-ring work and in-ring performance would don a red hue all around the arena, very similar to modern era iterations with the Fiend Bray Wyatt. In a storyline perspective, we would then move towards the Royal Rumble 1998, where The Undertaker would take on the World Wrestling Federation champion in the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels in a specialty match, a match that was known very well to The Undertaker, and a match that The Undertaker made synonymous with the World Wrestling Federation in a casket match. And this is where Kane would once again make it known that he didn't want to be an idol or a partner of his brother, he wanted to be a rival. The Big Red Machine would interfere in the match between The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels, placing Undertaker in the casket, causing for Shawn Michaels to win and retain the World Wrestling Federation Championship. However, it was the actions of the Big Red Machine following the match that makes this match as historic as it is. Kane would bolt the casket shut and set the entire structure ablaze with The Undertaker inside of it, giving us the image of the casket set ablaze as Kane kneels in front of the flame, admiring his work. The Undertaker would then take a few short months off TV, but return in time for WrestleMania 14 to set up a feud with his brother and Kane. Undertaker would return on March 2nd, 1998, where a casket was struck by lightning, thus raising up the spirit of the Demon of Death Valley in The Undertaker, where he would challenge the person he said he would never fight, his own flesh and blood. And this would set up The Undertaker versus Kane on the grandest stage of them all at WrestleMania 14. Brother versus brother was a huge spectacle for the World Wrestling Federation, as it was the first time ever that we would see these two behemoths lock horns in an official match in the World Wrestling Federation. However, as we know, The Undertaker would come out victorious, thus continuing his WrestleMania undefeated streak, but it was still a very strong showing for the Big Red Machine. Undertaker and Kane's feud would continue post-WrestleMania following the post-match attack that Kane delivered on The Undertaker at April 4th's Mayhem in Manchester, where The Undertaker would once again defeat his brother in the Big Red Machine. One thing I'd like to add here is the unique choice of attire for The Undertaker. I feel as if this was the first time where we got a glimpse at The Undertaker's American Badass attire, which would debut towards the tail end of '99 into 2000 before the character would make an official on-screen debut in the World Wrestling Federation. Following this, we would move into Unforgiven in Your House on April 26th, where The Undertaker took on Kane in another first time ever match, where they would literally have to walk through the proverbial flames of hell to battle each other in an inferno match. The Undertaker would again defeat Kane, which in retrospect wasn't the greatest idea because it made Kane look weak, but at the same time, Kane was always the Big Red Machine, even if he took an L here and there. We would then move into May 31st Over the Edge pay-per-view, where Kane would take on a different and more unique opposition. Another masked man in the WWF in Big Van Vader in a unique mask versus mask match. And this was another match where the Big Red Machine would again claim another victim under the World Wrestling Federation, as he would come out on top with the victory. The following night on Monday Night Raw, Kane would battle his brother again, but this time it was for the richest prize in the game, or I guess you could say a shot at the richest prize in the game, in a #1 contenders match for the World Wrestling Federation Championship, with the winner going on to challenge the champion in Stone Cold Steve Austin at the 1998 King of the Ring. This is a match where Kane would come out victorious surprisingly, and go on to challenge the Texas Rattlesnake for the gold in a first blood match. To the shock and dismay of many, the Big Red Machine would go on to win the World Wrestling Federation Championship at King of the Ring by making Stone Cold Steve Austin bleed. However, the title reign was very short-lived, as he would lose the title back to Stone Cold Steve Austin the following night on Raw is War. In June of '98, Kane would align with Mankind and form a tag team where they would actually win the World Tag Team Championships twice during the summer. They would lose their second title reign at SummerSlam in '98, and then he would move into another formation of the Brothers of Destruction alongside his former rival and also brother in The Undertaker. Reforming the Brothers of Destruction would have Kane and The Undertaker targeting the Texas Rattlesnake in the World Wrestling Federation champion in Stone Cold Steve Austin due to the orders of Vincent Kennedy McMahon. This would move us into In Your House Breakdown '98, where they would challenge Steve Austin for the title in a 2-on-1 handicap match where neither of the Brothers of Destruction in Kane or The Undertaker could pin each other, and they had to pin Stone Cold. They would both pin Stone Cold Steve Austin at the same time, causing for a double champion, so to speak, going into In Your House Judgment Day, where it would again be The Undertaker versus Kane, but Stone Cold Steve Austin would be the special guest referee, and Stone Cold Steve Austin would count both men's shoulders down to the mat in the middle of the match to declare himself as the World Wrestling Federation champion, even though he wasn't an official competitor in the match itself. The journey of Kane's early career would then carry on to December 13th, 1998 with In Your House Rock Bottom, where the main event of the show was another unique match type made for the Brothers of Destruction in a way, in the Buried Alive match between The Undertaker and the WWF champion in Stone Cold Steve Austin. The Big Red Machine would again have a huge impact on the outcome of the match. At this point in time, Kane was considered a face and The Undertaker was considered a heel, transitioning in 1999 to his Ministry of Darkness leader gimmick. However, the Ministry of Darkness wasn't a thing at this point, and the corporation had just started forming. However, in this match, a lightning bolt would strike the gravesite, and Kane would come out and tombstone pile drive The Undertaker and push him into the grave, allowing for Stone Cold Steve Austin to claim the victory after burying The Undertaker alive. Going into 1999 is something we're not going to cover on this video, but I'll be looking to make more volumes if you want me to cover different aspects of Kane's career or any other professional wrestling superstar throughout the WWE, WCW, WWF, you name it. I'm your host, Double M, and this has been Kane's early career in the WWF throughout 1997 and 1998.